do a cool search filter combined page because it's what I'm building right now at 7 in the morning. And I'm bored because Dimitar went on holiday. And my cats left me. So now they come back to make noise during this live stream. So yeah, I figured I'd record this because Irina is always telling me I need to do more short content. And it took me 20 minutes to set this up. I'm not complaining. I need to get more efficient about that. Anyway, I'm basically just going to dive in. I'm going to guess that no one's going to be here. And I'm probably not going to, I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch if you are here. I wish you had a hands up feature. Anyway, I'm just going to get right started here and basically just show you what I am building. Which tab can I share? Here we go. So what I am building this morning is punchy intro. What I'm building right now is our videos page. I did some improvements, some breakages, and I need to finish it because I've got something else to work on. Anyway, I realized that we have in our app a lot of these kind of pages, and people have asked me kind of how they work. I think maybe it was the thing I said I was going to be doing a tutorial on, so here it is. If you like these kind of shorter ones, this will definitely have to be like 15 minutes or 20 minutes because, yeah, I've got something else I got to do. And even I can't listen to myself talk for much longer than that. And there will be many tangents because, yeah, there's no Dimitar to keep me in line. Cool. I will try to check the chat occasionally just in case someone does show up and want to ask. Feel free. Otherwise, I'll try to answer them afterwards. So what we've got here, if you've used our service before, if you used our app, you know, we have a videos page, which is like a really crummy version of YouTube. It does actually use the YouTube widget, which has some issues. If you've ever tried it before, there's some weird thing with the audio keeps auto playing. So even if you're playing a video and then navigate away, another thing is that if you have a list of them, they will, as soon as your user is scrolling up and down the page and tapping on each one, they'll all start and then obviously not stop. So we're going to try and find maybe a better YouTube widget. If we do, we can maybe share it. So anyway, let's get down to business here. Oh, by the way, the title is a DaftPunk reference, but it took me so long to create everything else. I didn't even have time to find the song. So what I've got is really weird with, let me make it full screen. Page, I have what's kind of a common setup. I obviously have a whole bunch of videos that I want to display to a user, and I then, which is in a query at the top of the page, as I often mention, and then basically I want to chop that data up in a whole bunch of different ways as smoothly as possible for the user, and that allows them to just kind of have a seamless browsing experience. Not saying it's seamless, lots of room for improvement. But the basic components of that is normally you'll want to have some sort of search component. You'll normally want to have some sort of filters, like a secondary filter, I would call this. And then in this instance, I've got a kind of what I would call a primary filter based on tabs. There's obviously lots of different ways to set this up. You could have two drop downs. You could have a drop down filter and then maybe lots of tick boxes. But essentially, the idea here is that one of these filters, you kind of know you're only going to have a few of because of the content you're displaying. And the other one, you want to be much more flexible. So you need a much more flexible UX, whether that's drop-down list. And then obviously your search is the most flexible kind of thing. So the way that I'm doing this is, the question, I guess, is how do you get all those things to work together? And I guess the easiest way, maybe if we start from the top down. So the first things first, you'll notice that my query is at the top of the page. It's not what I'm showing you right now, but I assure you it is at the top of the page. So at the very beginning, I'm doing a query of my videos collection, and I'm just grabbing them all. And because in general, the final lists that I want to display to the users, no matter what filters they've applied, whether they're searching, not searching, I've kind of made a decision that I always want it to be in some way the newest ones at the top. Just kind of makes sense. And so that's pretty much the only thing I'm doing on this query. I know I don't have a million videos documents. The performance of my app is going to be better if I go and get all those documents once rather than trying to keep refreshing them based on my filters. And so the only filter I'm doing here is literally just a date filter, decreasing time, so that what that means then is that my master list at the top of all those videos documents that I want to, chop up, um, the result of those filters is essentially always still going to be date ordered. So that's kind of the first step, and I highly recommend this approach, even if it seems a little bit more work than linking your queries to columns or list views. This will perform better. It will give you so much more options, and the end result will be better once you've kind of got your head around it. So that's, now we've got that giant list. Obviously, that list is not being displayed in a big column here or anything. Where my eventual list view is at kind of the bottom of the page, if you like, there is, it's not very helpful. Inside of this tab view, there is a component. This component, so there's 3 of them. There's one for each. They're just this little grid view type thing. There is a reason why it's a weird component. There's actually like a page view inside. Fun trivia fact: for widgets that you can only have one of on a page, like a page view, if you stick it in a component, you can get past that. So I have 3 page views on this page, one in each of these tabs essentially, which is a page view that is my video player plus the grid layout, and then I switch back and forth between each of them. A little visual trickery, but that's not the main thing. So in the video tab component, you'll see I'm passing in essentially one parameter. What I'm passing in there is a list of video documents in their entirety, that is coming from the top of the page where we got all of them, and then obviously doing some chopping up along the way. And that, the first kind of, if you like, well, actually, I guess because my search bar and because my, oh yeah, that was the thing I actually need to finish up. So what I've done already to this point, and then we're going to do the rest of it together in the next 10 minutes, hopefully. The first chop that I've done is based on my tabs. So I've got in my Firestore data setup, I have a whole bunch of different properties for videos, but essentially I've got a type of video. So tutorial, a workshop video, or a generic live stream. So every video will have one. That's the highest order filter, if you like. Then I've obviously got title, details, date, image, blah, blah, blah. Up here, you'll see there's like this little tag. This one is category, I think. So that's kind of a lower order filter. That would be things like maybe design, or obviously it's got I've given it kind of some ugly placement over here. So it's a little bit separate than maybe just a list of tags, which I always like to include for something that I want to search. And by list of tags, I mean a list of string inputs. I should probably be showing this stuff rather than talk. I can hear Dimitar poking me from afar, wherever he is. And I hope he never watches it. He abandoned me. Where am I going? Videos. Where's my videos? Oh, here we go. Here's my data structure. So create a time, user, UID, how I always start every collection, title, type. That's what I said. So that's gonna be like a live stream, workshop, tutorial. Channel, this is just giving myself some future flexibility. Obviously, this is a videos page. Right now, we only have stuff on YouTube. In the future, I was like, well, maybe we'll have videos on Instagram. I stuck it there just for the sake of it. That's one of the advantages of NoSQL. Firebase gives you a little bit of flexibility. Category is the one we got to, that little tab. So the category, it's going to be a secondary filter. So again, it's something that I just got a single string view because I know at the end of the day, there's not going to be 100 million of those. Details, this one here was where I got off on this tangent, is tags. I include this field in almost every collection that I think I might ever want to sort. This is a great use of string lists. I see there are a lot of bad ways to use lists, like lists of document references, and things that yeah, document references, image URLs. But a list of tags is a great use of a string list. There's nothing here housekeeping to worry about. If this document gets deleted, those tags get deleted. It's not a problem because this is essentially just like hashtags on Twitter. This is an infinity list. So I don't necessarily need to worry about if every single video has, let's say one of the tags is FlutterFlow, right? And somebody spells it with 2 capital F's, lowercase f, 2 words, da, da, da. I don't really have to worry about that. I don't have a master list of all of my tags in the same way that I do have tutorials, workshops, live streams. This is literally, and this is great for like user input, just letting them tag stuff. There are ways that you can kind of clean up that data later, and also that you can try to push your user to select options that maybe other users have done before, so you get a little bit more organization of what tags those are. But essentially, because we're just going to be searching across all of them anyway, it doesn't really matter. So that's a great use for string lists. I've got my image URL. I've got some evil data structures for video timestamps, which Ali, who is also abandoned our group chat and has not done timestamps. But that's where those will go when he does them, when he does his homework. And then the hosts, which is another kind of secondary tag type thing that I've got set up. So I should actually probably build this because I'm going to run out of time on those. So anyway, the first kind of chop of this for this list is to filter it out. So the way this works, I'm just going to go ahead and redo this entirely. So I want to just pass in a list of documents, and we're not worried about the search and filters. This is just assuming just for this first tier of filters. So the way this is going to work, you can now set inside of a component. It doesn't have to be in a component. You could do this with a normal list view or a grid or whatever. But in this instance, I do find that sometimes the components help to keep your mind clean when doing this kind of stuff, because this is going to get a little bit confusing in terms of the numbers of conditions and stuff. So what I need to end up with is a list of documents. So if I go ahead and set this from variable, what you will see is my starting point is just whatever's at the top of my page, my list of videos. And then you'll have normally these two options: no further changes and filter list items. The filter list items is a newer feature. We've talked about it a few times. This is what's going to allow you to, without doing a new query, just take out some of those videos documents, the ones that you want, in a really simple way. So whenever you start doing a filter list items, what you're going to come to is a filter condition. What this filter condition is saying is you need to end up with a true false. It's going to go through each of those video documents essentially, and you need to have some logic that it ends up with a true or false. If it's false, it's not going to put it in your filtered list. If it's true, it's going to show up there in your filtered list. So that can be as complex or as simple as you want. It can be just one condition, is this based on a Boolean value? That's obviously the easiest. Like, is it live or something? Is it active? Is it, the second most complicated would be to do something like what I'm going to do right now, which would be on the basis of a single condition. So you have single and then multi-conditions. A single condition, we know we have three things here: a weekly QA, which I've actually turned on the backend live stream. This is just a fixed value. I know I have another one, which is workshop, and then I know I have another one, tutorial. So what I want to basically just go through that entire list at the top of the page, and there's one field. I want it to check every single one of them and just find the ones where that string value equals, in this case, live stream. So we're going to set that up here. Again, you've probably done this a million times. Thank goodness for copy paste on here. So the first value, it's normally I find helpful, and I'm terrible about following this, to have some system in your mind. Either always do the variable first or always do the thing that's changing a lot. So in this case, I'm going to try to be disciplined here. And I'm going to put always the property first. Yes, that makes sense. So when you're doing filtered lists, you see I've already got three of these little things here. What we had, this is where we're getting our main things from. But the one that you're looking for is this item in list. This item in list is essentially this virtual chop list that you've just created here. by saying that you wanted to filter list items. So this refers to each item that it's going to be going through and checking. So remember, we got single condition. We want to check some property of it. So we're going to go ahead and grab get document property. And if I can remember, what did I say it was? Type, right? So we want to check the type of each of them. And we want to check equals to, it's fine. And then hopefully not make a typo here. And just do a quick check here. I'm so not going to do this in 10 minutes, am I? We'll get WhatsApp message from Irina. I told you, she wants me to make 90-second videos. How am I supposed to explain anything in 90 seconds? Can't explain my name in 90 seconds. Cool. Let me actually just quickly naively pretend that maybe somebody has joined me here. Oh, that's not it. I can't even find the stream. Oh, what if I'm not streaming? That will be awful. YouTube. Someone's here. Hello, sir. I'm looking to implement specific user push messages. My backend WooCommerce is able to send webhook to a specific link. Do you have any idea how to write cloud functions to execute and send to spec? So my backend WooCommerce is able to send web. Sorry, I've got enough tangents by myself. Send backend web, send webhook to specific link. Do you have any idea how to write cloud functions? I mean, yes, the short answer. We could do something. I'm not going to get myself lost in this, because I need to finish this. But the easiest way to do this would be the Rowie. They do support input webhooks. If you add, I don't know if you've sent it, if you have access to our little platform thingy, you can go and make a request for this. Maybe you've already done it and I haven't seen it, in which case I apologize. Specific user push messages. So you just, when you say specific user, do you just mean you want to specify their user reference, right? Essentially, in the same way it does it with FlutterFlow. Like I say, I'm not going to get off on this thing. Specific user push messages. Okay. If you drop me a note somewhere on the internet, we can definitely have a look at this. If you're able to share as much details as you can, share project link is always helpful. Then I can just have a look at it. But like really just like detail exactly what you mean. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by specific. I'm guessing you just want to go to a specific user. I mean, all of this stuff is possible. I have a client where I'm doing like, push notifications about Bitcoin transactions on the incoming webhooks. All of this stuff is super possible. And if you detail it, we can try to help build it out into a template. So it's a little bit reusable. I'm not familiar with WooCommerce, but I'm sure it's exactly the same as anything else. It's going to be, yeah. So okay. Your WooCommerce is sending you a webhook, so you can take that into Rowie.
My apologies. I don't understand.
Google, bad Google. You can take that into your to your cloud function. There's also services like I mean, always Zapier and stuff is a good place to start just to try to test things. Octohook or something. Which are really great for like mapping those things. But yeah, drop me a message in the community or platform, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for joining me and keeping me company. Cool. I'm gonna go back to my building. Completely lost my train of thought. But that was a good question. Where was I? I was here. So yeah, we set this to live stream. From the top of the page, we're doing the one conditional check, and then we've got these other two. And again, because it's a component, they're essentially exactly the same thing. In this case, they are exactly the same because I didn't actually change it. So yeah, that one's live stream. Did I change any of this? Oh yeah. Tutorial. I did that one. Okay, so this one should be workshop. Maybe I'll finally catch my own bugs more if I start recording everything. 2 eyes are better than 1. Second value, specific. So that's gonna be workshop. Right, cool. We are far, far from what I promised. This cool, awesome solution. But this is an important first step. Now, previously in old FlutterFlow world, you would have done this kind of stuff with conditional visibility. Don't do that anymore normally. This is a much better way to do it. So now your data is in there. But how do we allow the users to filter that more and more and more? So the next kind of filter would be this one. So here I have a filter that you could use for a secondary category. I think the way I have this actually set up right now is, oh yeah, I think I'm getting, what am I getting? Oh yeah, so this is, what I'm doing here is and again, this is the advantage of having all of those documents at the top. So what this custom function is doing is going through all of those video documents from the top of the page, one by one. And it's a really, really simple function, but basically I'm just taking all of the input list equals input list. Oh, I see. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all the categories. So the type is the live stream tutorial workshop. The next one down is the category, which would be like design, FlutterFlow, Rowie, cloud functions. There's kind of, it's a longer list, but not an infinite list. So what I want to do, obviously, for the drop-down menu is I don't want to have each of them multiple times, right? That would be really weird. So what I'm doing, though, rather than trying to keep a list organized and then make sure that I'm always using it the same, I'm doing it the lazy way, which is working for this kind of size of collection. And literally what this function is doing is it's just it's mapping the category property from every single video document in that list that we got at the top of the page. And then it's just removing all the duplicates. So if you do a test, let's see, whatever I set up here, FlexPerts, FlutterFlow, FlexPerts. So this should return one instance of FlexPerts, one instance of FlutterFlow. And will mean that your user now has 2 things to choose from rather than 3. This is not case sensitive. To make it case sensitive, you can stack this with another one of the functions that I think I published, which would be to make everything lowercase. You can use another one to remove white spaces. So you can actually clean up that data, which is what I was talking about with the tags, in order that you get more matches for duplicates, essentially, and try to avoid any repetition. So yeah, that's really simple. That's what that does. The input list, it just like how we did with the other thing, but we can repeat it if you want. But yeah, we choose the video documents at the start, but obviously video documents are not a list of string. It then gives us the option to map list items, different than filter list items. Map list items means you're taking one property from each of the video documents. Filter list item means you're checking each one to see whether you should include it or not. So I'm mapping it, and then it's going to give me the option. What do I want to choose? I want to choose, and again, item in list is the new kind of wording for when you're working with this stuff. So I'm going to go through every single video document. I'm going to pick each item in list. I'm going to get the property of category, and then I'm going to remove the duplicates, and I'm going to display that as my input values for the user. Cool. So that's how we did that a few days ago, I think. I don't remember. I have to remind myself. So now the question is, when the user is selecting one of these, and this is a simpler case in that they can only choose one at a time, we want to have the best responsiveness of filtering whichever of these tabs they're on without having to go and rebuild and keep track of hiding, showing things. So what we want to do is actually, the way I'm going to approach this is we've got our 3 lists of documents. There's no reason to make that more complicated or have multiple list views. We can just work with exactly this with the same list. So right now we're passing in one list based on one condition. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this extra option, if you like, to further filter this same list. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy this variable, and I'm going to remove it. This is for the workshop, so the middle tab. So we're going to set it again from scratch. For me, I always find this easier to do this. Now we have copy paste is when you're layering on these multiple conditions to keep it straight in my head. I build one with the simplest one, then I copy, delete, and I add an extra layer. So what we want to do here is our default assumption. If nothing here is happening, we want to pass in the one we just chose. However, if they have chosen something, we obviously want to reduce that list still further. So with another filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a conditional value here. And again, this is our default. So the default is where I'm going to paste what I had before. So that right there is our, if nothing works out here, it's going to do, we're back to exactly where we started. However, this gives us now the option to add on an extra layer. So again, what would our condition be here is, has the user chosen anything? And that's a pretty easy one to check with the dropdown. So this is just going to actually be a single condition. And what I'm going to be looking for here is, I can't remember what it is. Already my system is broken down. I can't remember what it is. I'm going to choose the widget state here. I think that's what I said I was going to do. So here I've got my, it really helps when you name your widget items. So the first thing I want to check is essentially the widget state for that filter. And here I have obviously an option, is set and not empty. If it is set and if it is not empty, they must have chosen something. If they have chosen something, I want to show them results that reflect that. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this because this is going to be my starting point again. I know what I want to show them. It's everything in here minus a few things. And so we're just going to start by pasting that here. Great. So now, again, where we're at is if it's not set at all, they see everything we had before, all of the things that are a workshop from the top. And if it is set not empty, well, right now they're still going to see the same thing. So we're going to just open this up again. And what we're going to do is type list documents type equals workshop convert. Well, this is about to get really awkward. Filter this end. Oh, okay. So here we have type equals workshop. We know we want that, but we also want to check against the filter value, right? So again, glory of copy paste. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an extra condition to this. So rather than just being a single condition, we're going to make it logically or condition, and condition. So we're going to go ahead and paste that in there. So what I've pasted in here is the original check of type equals workshop. We know it's always going to be that. And then we're going to add an extra layer to now check it against the filter, against the filter value, which we know is set because we're in this tree of the list filter, if you like. So it has to meet now both these conditions. It's always going to meet the first one, not a problem. But now we want to check, does the is the category. It's exactly basically the same check, except we're just comparing rather than the type, checking it against that. So we're going to be looking at item and list. That hasn't changed. And it will show me get document property. And instead of type, we just want to look for the category. And then we just want to see, is it equal to what the user has chosen in their widget. I'm trying to pull from right here. And you can see how using the component and passing things in with your filters on the outside helps keep things a little bit cleaner. There's obviously a lot of UX that can bog down your page inside of that component, especially because I hacked it together the page view. But despite my slow computer, this still is going to perform nicely. In my head, it creates this kind of separation. I know that components, yeah, they can seem to be a waste of time and a fancy feature and whatnot. But if you like them, if they work for you, I would say do. Cool. So recap, where are we at? If nothing happens, we get the type equals workshop. If the filter is set not equal, we are now checking a multiple conditions. So obviously we know the type will equal workshop, but we also want to extract now and check, does it match what they selected on the filter? If it does, that will be the result. So this list is going to be smaller than this list. And that's now 2 conditions. So we're just going to go ahead and please remember to save that because I never normally do. This is where someone chimes in and be like, Joss, you're doing this inefficiently. And that is kind of true. Because I'm going to end up repeating a lot of these things, but it's fine. I think it helps to show it. It helps me to work through it in my mind, if nothing else. So now I've taken into account this, and I would just go through and I would basically copy paste the top half of this, essentially. Probably being me, I think the fastest way, I would copy this entire thing. But in general, I'm not going to do it for all 3 of them right now. I'm actually just going to keep working on this one in order to keep layering it, because I can already tell that everything is going to be the same apart from that one string value I'm going to need to change right at the end. So there's literally no point in risk making mistakes. This is the only part I'm going to have to change, is that workshop value. Cool. So I could be smarter and pass that in some, but it's fine for now. So now the question is this next thing we have. So now we've basically got, if it's a workshop, if they're me, how do we update this? We removed our duplicates to get all the possibilities for the categories. And the last thing is to make sure here on the action, no, we don't even need to do that. What am I talking about? If you wanted to set local state, you could, but this will actually work fine. There's no reason, because I've got it going into a component. I don't need to mess around with local state. Cool, that makes things simple. So now the fun part, the search bar. What we want is to give the user the option to do these things in any orders, and it shouldn't ever break. So they have this magical search bar. And with search bars, you have a lot of different options. You have simple search, you have Firestore search, and the simple search is what we are going to be using. So I don't have clear local field, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. I've got no initial value, just some hint text, and update page on change. That's good, because that's going to mean that reflects my changes will reflect in real time. And if I go into the actions here, on submit, on change, so that's going to be the difference here is that this action is going to run as soon as they type in one letter or whatever. And the action that I want to run is a simple search on device. That's going to be, in this instance, a lot better performing, I think, than going to Firestore. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you're some smart person. So your 3 options here, if you've never used simple search, is Firestore collection. This is basically an option you probably don't want to use unless it's like a really small collection of like 20 documents. It's a good way to, without having to set up Firestore and things, if you're just getting started with FlutterFlow, this will essentially do a query for you on an action. That's a really good point. I am an idiot. No, that wouldn't work. Never mind. I was just thinking, I was like, could I do this on, but no, it wouldn't work. I don't think. I was just thinking if I could do it on page load. Put a thumb in that. Anyway, simple search. Imagine being Dimitri and having to work and get distracted every 2 seconds. I want to do that on change, great. And the search type that I want to do is, you can search string values, but what we actually want to do here is documents. Because we're going to be using that big list of videos right at the top, like we're using for everything. One query, we haven't left the page, and we're doing a lot of stuff with it, which is cool. And so let's just pretend that we didn't do anything there. What you get here is, what do you want to filter by? To be honest, I choose most things. Obviously, I'm going to guess that the performance is going to be better if you only are searching across a few of these. But because I've not done that many videos, let's just, let's let people basically search everything. Cool. And the search term is going to be coming from our search field. That's the widget state. Cool. Times. Oh, I'm never going to finish that other thing by 10. That's fine. Do one thing at a time, please. Cool. So this will now return every time, as soon as I start typing in the text field, this will return a bunch of documents. That is essentially just like with the filter widget, it is a filtered list of that master list of documents. And right, that's done. Nothing else I need to do there. Cool. And what's changes? You also have this option, which I definitely shouldn't go into, but I will. That's the kind of guy I am. You have this option, if you never used it, called autocomplete. Autocomplete is just very similar to the filter. So what I would do here probably, you can set these options. So I'm going to be lazy. I'm basically going to take this exact same here. Whatever I did here, if it works, well, I'm just going to change the input. Copy variable. I'd like to take a moment to thank Alex and Awol for inventing copy-paste, or whoever did that, because the amount of time it saves me. It also, I make a lot less errors. And also I like the fact that I definitely did have a bitch and a moan about it one time. I was like, I'm so sick of clicking. And then they did copy-paste. And it wasn't because of me. They just did it because they wanted to. Cool. So what I'm trying to get here is essentially a list of autocomplete. So a list to help users get there faster. That's what she said. I want to basically get we're removing duplicates. There shouldn't be any duplicates. That's fine. But basically, I'm just going to be putting in here, instead of the categories, they maybe know the title name. So this will, if they start typing how to, they're going to be able to choose any video that has how to. I'm not, I think when I've done this before, it's it's not a literal string match, by which I mean it doesn't just look from character 1, character 2. So if they type how to and that appears in any of those titles, it's going to let them auto select those, which is really cool and just much better user experience. So now I've got a list of those. I do not need to, I could filter these. I do not, and you would think maybe I would want to filter them for this. I'm not going to apply these filters like horizontally, because we're just going to do all of our filtering going into the component. Cool. Maybe it's time I check back and see if there's any. There are new messages. I think it's just me. Zapier is a bit expensive. I agree. And check for Firebase. Zapier only writes string values to Firebase. I mean, I guess it's good that it has some support. There's a shocking lack of support for Firebase and no-code tools. It's a little bit better now. But yeah, with Zapier, you can only write strings. And like, they kind of vaguely suggest that they can try to turn some of your strings into numbers if they happen to be numbers, which means all of your timestamps for stuff gets written as like long-ass integer numbers rather than actual timestamps. But again, don't need to get straight. Cool. So our initial value here is nothing, and that is deliberate because this is going to be in the same way that this is set or not empty. We essentially want to layer on an extra layer of our filter if the user has typed something in. And we got our autocompletes. Great. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we need to filter the results of this. There's obviously no list views. They're not showing up anywhere. But essentially a simple search will now give us a new list of documents. So when we go back again, here's our base condition, all the videos, our secondary condition, depending on what the filter is. And we're going to take whatever's top in the list here. And we are going to, if we need a condition there. So essentially we need another if. I should have done this the other way around, shouldn't I? Yes, I should have. So I can take all of this. Actually, let me do that. So if filter is set, so what we're going to do is, yeah, we're going to grab, listen to my own logic, copy this entire thing. we are, so we've copied this entire conditional value that we built. We are now going to reset it. Yes. We are now going to use this as our new base point. So I haven't removed the base point. It's just now nested yet again. So we've still got that very basic fallback. It's just now hidden a little bit. So that's now our else. And now I'm going to layer on the simple search stuff. There is definitely a little bit more efficient way to do this, but it's fine using these extra filters. But I'm hoping this is helpful. Cool. So if now we're going to look at, let's start with the basic thing. So the most basic thing we would want to check is the same way with the drop down, which is, let's look at that search bar. So if search is set and not empty, then yes. If search is set and not empty, I'm going to want to be returning results from it. If it's empty, I just want exactly the same situation I had last time. This makes sense. This makes sense. But if it's set and not empty, the most basic thing would be I would want to get back the simple search results, which is also a list of document videos. Cool. So, and then that would go through. Now, the problem with this here is obviously that, let's just do no further changes. So in this case, basically, as soon as someone types into the search bar, it will give them back search results. And as our current setup is incorrectly set up, it will not take into account any of that filter stuff, blah, 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 blah. So what I'm thinking to myself is, so your two approaches you can do through here is essentially, you obviously have your master start point at the top. You are either going to want to structure this in terms of it basically, and you can do this process that we're doing. You can do this with 3, 4, 5 different types of things. You just have to kind of map it out. And I would benefit from mapping things out more than just trying it. But at least FlutterFlow is kind of with copy paste, it's a little bit forgiving. So essentially, this is probably going to be I would say you stack them like Russian dolls, either top to bottom or bottom to top, in terms of knocking them off in your if this, then this, if this, then this, so that you can try to exclude as many things as possible and kind of have as little duplication as possible. So if somebody types the letter A and you've got hundreds of videos, it's going to return a lot of those videos. So I would say that if they type something in there, if they're typing anything in there, that's my start point. Yeah, I did it right. So basically, as soon as somebody types something into the search bar, that's now our new start point because they're clearly trying to find something. We wouldn't have it be, that's not true, but if they're trying to search for something, we don't really care what this filter is showing us because the primary thing that they're doing is searching that, and then we would apply that filter, I would say, rather than the other way around, because this is going to get us more results. And it's a little bit looser, whereas this is quite a binary. It's either is this or this, whereas this is going to be much, I don't know what the fancy term is, but essentially fuzzy matching, because it's not looking for exact word matches. Cool. So let's find here. So where do we get to? So if the search is set, not empty, I want to return the search results. And by definition, that can only, everything that is in the search results is in the video documents. So that has just filtered that out already for me. But I want to further now apply that I want to further filter those search results. And what I want to filter them by is essentially everything that I previously filtered by. So I want to filter them by, go away. So what I'm going to want to filter them by, should we do it from scratch? Let's do it from scratch. Obviously not entirely from scratch, I'm not crazy. So if it's set not empty, what we want to do is return the search results. We want to filter the search results. Simple search results. And we want to filter those simple search results to see whether, just like we did before, if, let's check whether item in list, blah, blah, blah. And that item in list now refers to yes. That item in list is now referring to the simple search result because I'm filtering that list. So if the category is document property category for the simple search results, because it's also a video document, is equal to what I have in my filter widget state. And by the way, I'm doing exactly what I said 2 minutes ago that you shouldn't do. And why I said it was good to copy paste is I'm obviously introducing, I've made like 2 mistakes already in here. Not breaking it so far, but it is going to get messy because I'm not doing it in the same order basically that I should have. And if I copied and pasted it, I wouldn't have had that problem. So simple search results are what are going to be returned. Every simple search result is replace video documents, and we're going to filter out and go through each of the simple search results to check whether they match the filter. But what if the filter's not set, you said? You are right. And that's why the better way to have done it would have been to take 2 extra seconds to think. What I want is essentially, I should have checked this first. Can I just copy paste this, or is that going to be confusing? That's what my laziness wants to do. So essentially, if it is, I think it's probably going to quicker. So I'm just going to basically, I'm going to have to change a few things here, because obviously these are video documents, and I want document videos. So search set not empty, simple search result, and we're doing that if it's set not empty. And then we're doing simple search results, and we're filtering it. And instead of filtering it directly by the filter, we just want to check really quickly if the filter is set not empty. And then what we want to change here, if the filter is set not empty, then we do the one we set up before, then filter the category equals, oh, this one, that should work. If filter, here's what I need to change. So I can take, and yeah, I can definitely immediately know that I'm making my life more messy than it needs to be a filter. And at some point, it probably would have just been easier to build it from scratch. If filter is set not empty, type equals. So the problem that we're hitting here is essentially at the top of this one, I've got video documents. But before I take this away, I want to copy that one. I have a feeling if anybody has made it this far in this video, you're completely lost by now. That's the result will work. So I just need to change this to be video documents. And instead, we're filtering this if filters. Then Yeah. Yeah. I think I literally just took the same thing and pasted it back in there. Type this video documents. I feel like, yeah, because this should be. Let's take a vote, Joss. What does the audience think? Should I not be lazy and try to do this right? If simple search is not empty, then we want to filter it by, this. Yeah, that's what we're going to go with. So we want to check if the category is equal to the filter. However, we need to change this because we don't always want to check it. We just want to check it if the filter is not empty. So essentially, filter list items. So if the widget state condition, Jesus, Josh, just map it out on a board somewhere. Stop just clicking randomly. A single condition, if the widget state, we're looking at the filter. I don't know why I haven't been able to copy and paste this from somewhere. Can't think of. Because it's exactly the same check we were doing before. I should have been able to be lazy. So if the filter is set not empty, I want that then. So we are now filtering simple search results. And again, we're trying to get a Boolean for each item in the list. And each item in the list. The value if the filter is set not empty. And again, remember these values that we're getting here when we're filtering should always go back to Booleans. So, so this is going to be item in the list. Get document property. And by the way, this is not the only way to do this. There are multiple approaches. I unfortunately pick them kind of at random each time I do it. Some work better than others. I'm not smart enough to be able to kind of got intuition, and the more you do one, the better you get with it, I guess. So we've got document property category, and then we're comparing it to the filter value. And then we'll recap this so that maybe it makes sense for all you brave souls who have made it this far. Because there's so much repetition when you're setting these things up, as I gave a high horse lecture earlier at the start of this, by structuring it and mapping it out, you can avoid getting yourself into the mess that I just got myself into. So yeah, I just end up recapping it all the time. Search is set not empty. Then we get our simple search results, and then we filter those by. But I screwed up. I went straight into the category equals filter, which really is only relevant if the filter is set empty. Otherwise, what do we want here? We just want it to be true. If the filter is set not empty, we just want those simple search results, essentially. And we're going to confirm that. And we're going to confirm that. And I made that seem way harder than it needed to be. Cool. And I should leave it there because that's not working. And has everything. So again, that tiered search is set not empty, also applying the filter. That is not true because I never checked for the type, right? And this is maybe a good time to say it. I should have done that one here. So essentially, everything that comes down, whether it's if or else, will always, I don't know the word, refactor or whatever. I could make my life a little bit easier by moving some of those things down to the kind of like master list, if you like. because then I don't have to keep repeating them all the time. So here, item and list. And although simple search results seem to be different than video documents, this should work. So what we're doing here is that actual first one we did, which ends up at the bottom. If it's equal to a specific value, I don't know what tab we're on. What are we on? People, workshops. Top. I only have to write it once too. So this will mean now that check, that is the only time I have to do that. So anytime it's in any of these, I can actually go through and remove it, which simplify things. My return type is a document videos list. That's fine, whether it comes from a simple search result or not. Probably it makes sense basically to take then I could have made this way simpler, no? So if the filter is set on because that's repeating twice, then I want to do the video documents. So this doesn't need to be filtered. Type equals workshop. And category is equal to filter. Yes, I didn't need that. So I just need this one. And again, I've got that about 5 different places. So we can just take that and paste it. All I'm doing here is I'm taking out the check for workshop because I have it elsewhere lower down. So if we read, these are the ones we came up with first. I'm hoping I need to go. So if filter is set not empty, then videos, documents, category equals filter, else video documents. Yeah, this should be here essentially. That's where I messed up. That's why I got confused. So all that stuff, my logic was right about layering them. I know I've done it before, but I should have, where I messed up is trying to squeeze it all in here. It would have been better to have all that stuff that we built on like the part 2 where we done the filter and we were all organized and then it went a little bit cluster. But that should have basically gone here, not there. But that's fine. The principle stands the same. One thing I always like to do, I'm going to resist every urge. Simple search is set, not empty. I like to also check for, are the results 0? Essentially, if the cat walks over the keyboard and you get no results because you've just typed in a bunch of random junk. As we have it set right now, because there's letters there, it's going to be returning your simple search results, which is nothing, which makes all these other fancy filters worthless. What I like to do is that if the results are 0, to then kick it back and have a kind of escape clause, if you like. So it's not just have I typed anything, but it's have I typed anything and are the results greater than 0? And only then go to the simple search results. Otherwise, go to the base collection. So the way we would do that would be making this yet more complicated. We would, and you get a really nice looping effect there, whereby when a user's typing, they'll be typing, they'll be getting more matches, smaller matches, and then it will explode out again because they got no matches. And so then, and it does that in almost real time. And I think maybe what would be best is for me to show you. I've probably shown it to you before, if you ever watched anything before. So this will be a multiple conditions. So the one that we had before was checking just whether they've typed anything in, set not empty. And so then here you would just add an extra check of something like, and so it's set and not empty. So we're expecting results basically from the first letter they type. So we would be looking at the simple search results and we would be looking at the number of items, and we went down the wrong alleyway. So we're going to copy that part that we did. Maybe that's why I find this efficient, just because I end up doing it so much. First value. Oh, no, I'm going crazy. I did that perfectly right. Oh, no, nothing's perfect, let's be honest. So if the number, and I am not smart enough to know whether I believe that a 0 result is still technically set. So set is set, not empty, and the number of listed items is set. And then I would actually add another and. So it needs to satisfy all 3 of these conditions actually in order for me to think that the simple search results are worth using. If it doesn't, essentially if there are no results. It may be true that you don't need to do this. So I'm going to look for greater than or equal to 1. So as long as there's 1 item in their search results, that's fine. With the drop-down filters, I don't normally do this because I think the user experience, it makes a little bit less sense because it's a little bit less fluid. It would be a little bit weird if all of the options randomly showed up again, all the videos. So yeah, if that, then do the simple search results. And we filtered those sort of unnecessarily. If the filter is set, then category plus filter. Otherwise, just show it. If the filter is not set, just show all the simple search results. And if it's not set, then just, and the filter is not active. Yeah, I think I'm checking for the same things like 5 times in here. I need to go clean that up. Yeah, there's my workout. But I hope that was helpful. I will, as promised, let me get to a tab where I can actually, even though I'm fairly sure I'm all by myself at this point. I will just show you here's one I prepared earlier. Obviously, it's not going to work here because I haven't done anything. But on any of these other pages, what? Well, that's just not good. No, I'm going to have to edit this out. I really need to stop treating this like a development environment. Right there. Added this feature, and I clearly broke it, which is really annoying. What other list do I have? I can search the. It's not a very exciting list. No, I'm just gonna have to cut this part out. Now let me go find. I will not be defeated. Let's try this. Share this tab. Come on. No, there is no search on this one, is there? Quarter. God damn it. Kind of is very anticlimactic. So I'm just gonna stop there because I need to go do some real work. If it's helpful, check it out. The search should work somewhere. I think we showed it to you before. So I hope that was helpful. That was definitely not 10 minutes. It was not 50 minutes. It was not as streamlined and authentic and helpful as that.